Hi guys, Barry with MojoDesk here. Today we're going to show you how to unbox your MojoDesk and assemble it. So it's really quite easy. A couple tools to make it easier is a little knife so you can cut the box open. And then a screw gun's great, but you can also do it with a regular screwdriver if you need because all the holes are pre-drilled. So first I'm going to open the box up and I'm going to take all the parts out and inventory them, make sure everything looks good. I already inspected the boxes when they came to make sure there's no damage from FedEx shipping, which you should call us right away if there is. So let's get to work. Inside we've got the instructions on the hand control and the assembly guide. So everyone can take a look at the assembly guide. It's got all the parts laid out. We're going to pull all the parts out and we're going to start assembling it. This is the hand control instructions, so how to operate the hand control. Here's a guide to get referral credits if you refer your friends, and how to contact us if you need any help. Okay, so first thing I'm going to pull out is this. It's an upper support structure and it also has the control box in it. So we're going to put that out on our surface with the control box facing down. Then I'm going to pull out the two side support bars and we're going to have one on each side. So be sure to check inside of every box within the main box because there can be components inside. This one, for example, has the hand control. Here's another box. Open that and we're going to look for parts. And we have a power cord and then we have some hardware bags. This box is completely empty, so now I can put it aside. This has the feet in it. And there are 2 feet, so they will slide apart and then you can slip them out of their packaging. And then I'm going to set these down just outside of my end supports. So now I've got the lifts that move the leg up and down. I'm going to pop this out, take the protective wrapper off. And then I've got a lift ready to assemble. Okay, and then I'll get the other side of my other components. Be sure to dig through everything in your box to make sure there's no parts hidden under protective packaging. Let's take a look. And then this part is the cable cover that hides the cables underneath the table. So now we'll set this aside so we can assemble it in a bit. So I'm going to grab my 5-step instruction guide. I'm going to start on part 1. So up in the left corner of each section, you see what tools and or bolts and screws you need. So this one we need the A screws, which are in our bag there, and the F, which is the hex key. So I'm going to grab sections A. This baggie has all the different shapes and sizes of screws and a hex wrench that are required to assemble the table, and they're neatly organized. So first I'm going to open section A and get the hex key out because those are the ones that this one needs. And then I've got my hex key. So you'll be using these for the first step. We're going to grab one of our end pipes and you can see this side has the countersunk holes. It is going to fit onto the end here. And notice how this could be lifted up a little bit. You can screw it on there without that, but to make it easy, I'm going to grab packaging to make it simpler. So I'm just going to tear these off. And I'm going to set the base up on here because it'll make it a little higher and a little easier. So now this fits right on nice and flat. And then I will take my screw and I can get it started. Getting everything nice and tight is important to the stability of the table. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, I'm going to get these nice and tight. Perfect. One thing I want to point out is to leave all these rubber bumpers in. Next, in step 2, I need to get my 8 screws labeled D out of the screw kit, and then I need my hex wrench. And then, looking at the assembly here, I actually need to flip this whole thing over. So I'm going to now flip this over, and I can take out my packaging now. And then I'm going to get my 8 screws out of the D section. There's more than I need in the D section. Now I'm going to assemble the lifts onto the frame. So I'm going to grab the lift and with the cable pointing in towards the middle, I'm going to set this on here and there are 4 holes that I will align with the holes on the frame and then I will insert the screw D. It's very important to get these nice and tight. So I'm going to use the hex wrench the long way so I get more torque, and I'm going to get them snug. And then I'm going to go repeat on the other side. I'm going to grab the lift with the cable facing inward and set it on top, and we've got our 4 holes again. And then I will get my 4 screws started. Then I'm going to get them all 4 nice and tight. So now we're finished with step 2, and we're going to move on to step 3. And in step 3, we're going to put the feet on the bottom of the legs. And to do step 3, we need 8 of our bolt C, which is in the screw kit. And there's only 8 of them, so I'm going to need all of them. So I'm just going to cut that out. So grab the feet, and there's no front or back on these. It works both ways. And you're going to slip it down over the leg. And now we're going to use the C screws, 4 of them on each leg, and we're going to screw them down. And again, it's important to get these very tight so it will be a very stable table. If these are loose, the table will not feel rock solid, and that's one thing Mojo is famous for. Okay, same thing for this side. So now we're going to get our MojoDesk work surface out of the box. It's essentially a big sleeve. We can slip it apart and get the work surface out. So here's our work surface, and we're going to put it face down on a soft surface. So carpet is a perfect way to do this. So you can see all the holes are pre-drilled for the base itself and some of the accessory components. So for step 4, I'm going to put the base on the work surface, and then we're going to adjust it to fit with the pre-drilled holes. So I'm simply going to pick it up and set it down. So next, I'm going to loosen these 4 set screws so we can adjust the width of the base for this size MojoDesk. And I'm not going to take these all the way out, just loosen them. So now I can gently pick up, and I can slide the base over until these holes align with the holes in the work surface. And then I can adjust this side also. So in step 4, I'm going to get the screws in the screw pack labeled E. There's 12 of those, and I'm going to use my drill to screw the base onto the work surface. And I'm going to start with the end pipes here. So I look down through this little rubber grommet and I can see the hole. When you're using a power drill, you want to make sure that the clutch is not too tight, because you don't want this to tighten it all the way down. So having a clutch works well. You want this to come down, and you want to compress the rubber a little bit, but you don't want it to squish all the way out. And then I'm going to go ahead and just keep filling these screw holes. So right now I can't see my holes in the surface through my little grommets. So I'm going to pick this side up, and I'm going to reposition a little bit until I have it lined up. And then we also have 4 holes down the middle of the table. And these are important to really secure things, make a super solid surface. So when we loosened the set screws and we slid this apart, we want to make sure these bars are centered. So we can kind of see where our set screws pushed into the metal. So I'm just going to make sure those are about in the middle, because they can move back and forth a bit. And then I will tighten my 4 set screws again. And again, this is a very important part for table stability. Have these screws super tight. And that completes step 4. On step 5, I'm going to install the hand control panel, and I'm going to connect all the lifts to the control box. First, we're going to grab our hand control, and we're going to grab 2 more of the screw E. So I'm going to go ahead and take the protective layer off, and I'm going to flip it over and place it down aligned with these 2 pre-drilled holes. See how there's an oval shaped slot? I'm going to line my hole up in the middle of the slot, and then I'm going to put my screw in. Same thing on the second one. I'm going to make sure it's in the middle of the slot, and I'm going to drill it in. And we've aligned those holes correctly, so the alignment of the hand control will be perfect with the front edge of your surface. So now we're going to attach all the cables to the control box. So I'm going to plug in the power cord where it says AC on the control box. Okay, make sure it's nice and snug. Next, I'm going to plug in one of the motor cables, and And I kind of like to keep these bundled up, and I don't need much more length to plug here. So if I can just pull one of these through, and it doesn't matter if I plug a leg into M1 or M2, they will both work equally as well for either leg. Next, I'm going to plug in the other leg, and this one has farther to go, so I'm going to actually loosen up the little wire tie here, and then I'm going to extend this cable out, and I'm going to plug that into the other motor port. You hear a click. And then I like to keep cables nice and neat, so I'm going to fold up the rest of it, and I'm going to put my wire tie on it. So next I'm going to attach the hand control, and this is a longer cable, so I'm going to undo it. And then I'm going to plug this into the handset. So there's an HS right here. And there's actually 2 handset holes. You can use either one, and it clicks in. And again, I like nice organized cables, so I'm going to kind of run it along here, and then I'm going to fold them up, and I'm going to put my wire tie back on. And I want enough length to come all the way across the control box, and you'll see why in just a sec. And now we're completed with step 5 and ready for step 6. There are 2 separate step 6s. One is for 48 and 60 wide MojoDesks. Use this step 6. Or if you're over a 72 or wider, you need to use this step 6 because there's a little bit of change. So in this step 6, because this is only a 60, we need 4 of the B screws. So I'm going to open the B screws. The B screws are going to go into these 4 screw holes. And with these, you want to get the screw started, but don't tighten it, because you want some gap under the head. So now I'm going to grab the cable cover. So the cable cover is going to fit underneath the screws where they're up. So the edge of the cable cover is going to fit underneath. So what I want to do is make sure all my cables are nicely aligned in here. And then I'm going to slide this in and see how the bolt head goes over the edge of the cable cover. I'm going to squeeze the cable cover to get this other side of it under the heads of the bolts on this side. So I squeeze it a little bit and pop it down. So now the cable cover is captured by the heads of those bolts. Next, I'm going to tighten those bolts down so the cable cover is secure. So I'll tighten that up a bit. There we go. Now our cables are all neatly organized and secure. Hey guys, in the bolt kit, there are often a few extra bolts if you're not building our widest MojoDesk. So don't panic, it's always better to have too many than too few. So now we're going to flip your new MojoDesk over, and I recommend getting a helper for this because it's a little heavy and awkward, and we want you to do a great job of it. So I've got my helper here, Devin. So we're going to flip it over and then bring it up. And okay. So this is the exciting part. We get to plug it in and start to play with our MojoDesk. So it's easy. Grab the plug it into an outlet. So here's the MojoDesk hand control instructions, but it's really pretty simple, and I'll show you. So moving it down with the down button and moving it up with the up button. So quite simple. We also have 4 memory settings, so a 1, a 2, and then a stand and a sit. So we can show you how to program those real quick. So when you're adjusting, you can get it to the height you want. So I'm going to just pick 32.1, and I'm going to hit memory and position 1. So now it will go to position 1 and stop automatically when it is not at position 1. So I'm going to go away from position 1. Then I'm just going to hit 1 and let go. And it will go automatically because the MojoDesk has a safety sensor in it. So if it collides with anything along the way, it will stop and reverse. We're going to show you the safety sensor on the MojoDesk. So with this chair arm here, we're going to run the MojoDesk down, and when it collides with it, it's going to sense it and it's going to stop and reverse. And the whole time I was pushing the down button. So for the perfect setup, you want to have your table nice and level, and not every floor is level. Actually, very few of them are. So MojoDesk can adjust for that. So what I'm going to do is show you where the glides are. So I can tip the table back, and underneath here, I have glides that I can unscrew, and it adjusts how high this foot is out. So you can adjust for a wobbly table on an uneven surface quickly and easily. Having an adjustable desk is great, but if it's in a bad position, it could be worse than a fixed desk. So let's make sure to learn how to do it right so you get the most benefit out of it and you can stay healthy. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to a standing position, and we'll get that position set first. So I'm just going to hit the up button. What I'm looking for is I want my elbows to be at about 90 degrees and my wrists about straight. And now you can see elbows are hanging naturally by my side, about 90 degrees. There's a little bit of variability there for comfort. And then So you want your wrists straight. You don't want to bend them like that or like that while you're working at your computer. To do this correctly, I would be on a keyboard because some keyboards are thicker, some of the mechanical gamer keyboards, and in that case you would want your table a little bit lower to compensate for the thicker keyboard. So we can get your position. So now I can see I've got my table at 38.7 inches, so I can hit memory and hit the standing icon. So now I can repeat my standing position easily. Next, I'm going to grab my chair and we're going to get set up for the seated position. So to adjust for the seated position, I'm going to bring the table down. Before I do that, it's very important to get your chair at the correct height. Most chairs have an adjuster on them, and if I pull this lever, it goes down, and I'm too low here because you can see my leg angle is up, so I need to adjust this. This is actually good for me. If I was taller, this chair probably wouldn't be tall enough. So now my leg position is a slight bit open. My feet are flat on the floor. I don't want my feet dangling. So now I'm ready to scooch up to my desk. And then with my keyboard, I want about the same position. I want to hang my shoulders naturally at my side, approximately 90 degrees. With my keyboard height here, I'm going to need to go a little bit lower. So now I'm going to be in a good working position. So it looks like my seated position is at 26.1 inches. So I'm going to hit memory and then click on the seated position. And now I have my stand position and my seated set. So now when I'm ready to stand with one touch, I can touch the stand button and it's ready to go. And it'll come up to my correct position. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're here to help.